I have two wonderful guests for you. First, I would like to introduce an amazing guest, Kathy Garver. You might know her as Firestar from Spider-Man and his amazing friends. And of course, the Power Ranger guy, too. Steve Cardenas. Give them both a big round of applause.
Hey guys, what's up?
Nice to see you.
Hello.
Aren't you going to introduce us first, after just our names, and say how wonderful we are and what great careers we have had?
Well, of course, this lovely lady has just reminded me that she has had an amazing career. She's on Family Affairs. She was in the 10 Commandments.
Wow. Not the silent version, by the way.
No, the one with Charlton Heston, who
yes,
loved guns.
The one with
Mom, Murder, and Me, Patty Duke Show. My God,
nice.
This is Alice. She was also in one of the voices in Chuck Norris, Karate Kommandos.
I was Pepper.
Nice.
And was also a voice in the Fonz and the Happy Days gang.
Yes, I was a teenager in that one.
Yeah,
it's
amazing.
I'm still inside a teenager.
You still look like a teenager, so that's all good.
Thank you.
And of course, Firestar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Superhero. Firestar and Angelica Jones.
And she got to play Spider-Woman in one episode and then had to, for a Halloween party. And then I remember all those episodes. It's really sick. Then there's Steve Cardenas, who plays Rocky
the Power Ranger. And that's it. Thank you. Thank you guys. Good night.
It's like the Power Ranger guy. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
No, he was the Red Ranger. He was also briefly the Blue Zeo Ranger,
yes.
I understand.
In season 4, they changed up the costumes and the storyline and everything like that so they could sell more toys. And that was what the whole show was about. And we were basically just one giant ad to sell toys, which everybody went crazy for. So that was kind of a good thing.
That's very cool. And you're also quite the martial artist.
Yes.
5th degree black belt in
Taekwondo. Black belt Taekwondo and a 1st degree black belt in Jiu-Jitsu.
And this is why you have to be very nice to Steve.
Yes. Can you walk me to my car later?
Yes, no problem. I got you.
So for you guys, you were on shows that were targeted towards kids, but at the time it may have seemed like just another job. Did you have any conception that you were going to be such a role model for children?
Well, I didn't. When we were doing Family Affair, and that was before Firestar, and I was playing Cissy, and when you're involved in something, and even though I remember after the first season, and I was going down an elevator, and someone said, "Can I have your autograph?" And I said, "You want my autograph?" Well, why do you want my autograph? But, and after 2 weeks, the show had become very successful, and it was on for 5 years. And I don't think that we really realized how successful the show was going to be. At that time, before many of you were born, we only had 3 stations, not 390, different outlets and resources that we can go to for entertainment. So we just had CBS, ABC, and NBC. So everybody in the nation was watching this. And I think that's one of the reasons that the classic shows are so classic and popular and made way for TV Land and MeTV and Retro TV and then every other different kind of platform that's on now. Family Affairs on Amazon Prime, and it's on Decades and all of that. And to do the show of a Firestar, I started out acting when I was like 7, well, in that kind of big movie, as he had mentioned, 10 Commandments, so I had been around kind of a long time. But I had not really done voiceovers, and I was with a commercial agent in Los Angeles, and doing on camera, and they says, "Oh, well, they want you to come and do this voiceover interview." I says, "What's that? What's voiceover?" I hadn't ever heard of this. And he says, "No, you just go. It's for Starcast Tuna." And I said, "Oh, okay." So I went.
Sorry, Charlie. I remember those commercials.
Yeah, and it's great
tuna. These guys don't.
Yeah. And he said, "Okay, now you say, 'I like tuna.'" And I said, "Okay, I like tuna." He says, "Now say it a different way." What do you mean a different way? I like tuna. He said, no, say it different. Okay.
I like tuna?
Yes, and that was one of the ones I tried, and he says, well, no, a different way? I like tuna. And he says, okay, we'll do it in a different voice. A different voice? This is my voice. This is my voice. No, do it like, in a different voice. And I said, oh, okay. I like tuna. I said, okay, thank you very much. So I said, I think I need some lessons in how to do voiceovers, which I immediately embraced and went to Mel Wells, who was a wonderful teacher at the time in Los Angeles. And then I was living in San Francisco, and I still was going back and forth between San Francisco and Los Angeles, and they said, okay, you have an audition for this new animated series called Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. And so I went on the interview, and it was, they put me together with Dan Gilvezan and Frank Welker. Now, do you know these wonderful classic names in voiceovers? Frank has done every breed of dog that ever existed. He can do them very, very well.
That's amazing.
And he was, but for Dan, they were going to use a different Spider-Man, so there was a lot of going back and forth, but they got this final trio, and we all got along very, very well together. But still, even though it was a Marvel production, this was the first time that they had taken it started the animation characters on a series rather than getting them from a comic book. So Stan Lee had made all of his other things from comic books and from the comic book characters. This was the first time in his history that he had actually created characters for an animated series. This is rather a long-winded answer to your question. So
it's amazing, though. I love hearing these kind of the origin story. Come on, It's the origin story.
The origin, and that's my favorite episode of Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Anyway, is the origin story of Firestar. I rather like that one the best, being an ex-person, but we didn't know, and this was testing it out. I'm very pleased that I was able to do it, and it is still playing and still playing and still playing. And this year they brought out, and I was going to bring it to the table, this great action figure by Marvel, a 6-inch, and she is so great. And they have a Miss Lion. The only thing is they take her head off, and she has an interchangeable head. I said, I'm really crazy about being decapitated, but there you go.
Wow.
How am I supposed to follow that, guys? That's a great story. No, for me, you asked if did I know if the
If
show
you were
was
gonna be such a
popular.
role model.
Well, the thing is, for me, is I was familiar with the show because it had already been aired. I came on the show in the second season, if you guys remember at all. So at that point, the show was already the #1 kids show in the world. It was already wildly popular. So me being a martial arts teacher that I was, and I was teaching kids martial arts at that time, I knew all about Power Rangers because the kids would talk about it all the time. I'm like, let me see what this show is about, So I started watching the show, and then I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. I like this show. So I knew all about the show and I had no idea that they were looking for new Power Rangers or whatever. I was just some karate teacher from Texas at the time, and I was listening to the radio one afternoon, and I heard this commercial come on that said, if you know the Power Rangers, or if you know how to do martial arts or gymnastics, then you need to come down to the local TV station this weekend because we're holding auditions for the show. I was like, whoa. So I said, hey, I'm a martial artist. I'm a gymnast. I want to go throw my hat in the ring, so to speak, Not knowing what to expect in any way, I had no idea what it was going to be like. But they did this thing called a cattle call, and what they were doing is they were holding simultaneous auditions nationwide. They were doing auditions in California, auditions in Texas, where I was living, auditions in New York, auditions in Florida. And they just spent one Saturday, and they just sent all their casting directors out all at once to these different locations. And each place had probably about 5,000 people auditioning at it, So I went to this local TV station that was downtown in Dallas, and I show up there. And there's like 5,000 people in the parking lot. And I was like, oh yeah, there's no effing way. There's no way. I'm not going to get the part at all. And it was like American Idol. There was like 3 judges sitting at the table there. And they're just like herding you in one at a time. You get 30 seconds to show them what you know how to do. And I just said, okay. They were like, okay, great, thanks a lot. And I was like, what? I'm cut already? am I going to Hollywood or not? You know, kind of thing. And they were like, no, we'll give you what it's called a callback. So they shuffled me from one of these ballrooms like this where they were doing the auditions to another smaller one, and they had us wait there for a couple hours, and then they auditioned us again. So they had narrowed it down from like the 5,000 down to like 30. And so I was in those 30, and I was like, okay, cool. And I kept saying to myself, well, you know, if I don't make it past this, at least I beat out all these other people, and I can say that for myself, and that's kind of cool, you know? And then, so I did my second audition with them, and this time they put it on film, and they said, we're going to film this, we're going to send this footage to the producers, and if they like you, you'll hear from us. So it was sort of one of those, don't call us, we'll call you kind of things, right? So, okay. I didn't think anything of it, and 2 days later, they called me up. And they're like, hey, we sent your footage to the producers. We want to fly you to California to meet the producers. And we're flying everyone that we picked from New York, and everyone we picked from Florida, and everyone we picked from all the other cities. And we're all converging in Burbank to audition for the big man himself, Haim Saban. And I was like, oh, okay. And at that point, we all flew in, it was like, they called us on that Monday. They flew us in on a Tuesday. And then on that Tuesday afternoon, we were auditioning in front of those guys. So, I mean, they were moving very quickly. So, mind you, my first audition was on Saturday. Then Sunday went by, nothing. Monday morning, they called me. Tuesday, I was on a plane to California. And by Wednesday, they picked the 3 people that they wanted to pick to replace it. And it happened to be me and my co-stars, Johnny Young Bosch, who was also supposed to be here this weekend, but he had to cancel, and then Karen Ashley, and we all came from Dallas. So it was pretty cool. So when we got the part, they're like, congratulations, you're the new Power Rangers, and by the way, we have to start filming right now. You can't go home. Can you just have your clothes mailed to me? So I had to have my clothes mailed to me in basically like a hefty bag, you know. And they put us up in these motels until we could get settled and get our apartments and stuff like that. And yeah, we immediately started filming right away. They said, we need to start filming right now because we have about a month and a half to get as many episodes in the can as we possibly can, because at that point we're shutting production down because we're going to Australia to do the big 20th Century Fox movie. And I was like, how much more can my life change in the span of like 4 days? You know what I mean? Like I'm like a karate guy, you know, living in like some shack, you know, one efficiency apartment teaching karate to kids, and then the next thing you know, I'm on the #1 kid show in the world and going to Australia to do a movie for 4 months. You know?
It's that Texas charm.
I mean,
Karate Kid with Texas charm. That's it, Steve.
And never having gone to any auditions before, not understanding the process. Understand, it does not happen like this ever. You know? You grind for a long time, a lot of times, right?
Yes.
Yeah, see, I did not experience that, you know? I'm just that good, okay? I showed up, I go, here I am.
It's just because he could do karate.
Where's my heart, you know? No, I'm just kidding. No, I learned very quickly, you know, because everything from there was on-the-job training, you know, because I had no idea how to act. So they had to hire an acting coach. So they had Bulk and Skull. You guys remember the bad guys from the show? They were my acting coaches off camera, you know what I mean? So fun little tidbit for you guys. They were like my acting coaches off camera, telling me how to do it. And then everything else I was learning on the job, learning about lighting and hitting marks and camera angles and all the different stuff. Of course, learning about voiceover stuff as well, too, because we did a ton of ADR on that show because there was a lot of helmeted stuff where you couldn't see our mouths move. So we'd have to go back in later and record all that stuff over. Plus, a lot of it was Japanese footage, so we had to go and redub that. So we spent a lot of time in the fishbowl, as I called it, in that little glass case.
Good way to learn, just throw it in there. And I think you wanted us to mention something about how it was like to be a role model. And I don't think that either of us, you know, pictured ourselves as a role model. Yeah. And from now looking back on it, well, who doesn't like a a superhero. So it was great to have powers. I rather like the power of fire, since I'm a Sagittarian anyway, and that is a fire sign. And now see, when you get older, all of my mind just went off to my husband. It's our 40th anniversary.
Wow. Oof.
And thank you.
That's fun.
Thank you. It's a big celebratory year for me, I must say.
Congratulations.
Yes, and he is a Pisces, and that's water. And our son, who is 30, it was his 30th birthday this year, had him rather late in life, but he is also a Pisces. So I'm full of fire, and they're always trying to put water on me. Now, what does that make? Steam.
Yeah, steam.
Yeah, well, we have a steamy relationship. But a role model, I think, comes from the heart. And I think that each one of us are superheroes when we look at ourselves and we look at our spirit and we know, who we are, and we can, make that light shine to all whom we meet. And I really think that that's who we are. And when we become aware of it, and when we access it, and when we are finally, thank you, out to see people in person and have energy and not seeing them on a Zoom or, one or two masks. Oh, there you are. I see you. How pretty you look. Just like that with your real face instead of your mask. So that's a wonderful thing. I think that has happened. And Angelica Jones, I think that we have to respect Angelica as well as a role model, because she was doing what she wanted to do, and then she said, but besides this, I have this other superpower that I'm not going to let anybody know about. But I think we should all let everybody know about our superpowers and not be like trained birds. And say, I know how to do this. Let yourself go. And that's my answer. And did you realize you were going to be a role model?
Yeah, it was a little bit different for us because we were all like that. Group was a whole message was about being role models, Power Rangers was all about, the teamwork and, being good, and we were teaching kids, a lot of moral lessons. Each story had a moral lesson at the end of each episode, and so we were very much, in that role model capacity. And we always had kids visiting the set, especially kids from Make-A-Wish Foundation and stuff. So we always had, like Disney, have certain clauses where you have to be like on your best behavior in certain things. You can't do certain things, even outside of that. You had to follow these moral clauses and things. So, we definitely were in that role model capacity. It was different back then because there wasn't a lot of social media or internet or anything there was none of that back then. So most of the time that we ever met you guys, you were this tall, you were little and you would hide behind your mom and there was no interaction. But now with social media and stuff, we actually get to meet the fans and with the conventions and all that stuff. It's been a lot of fun. But I still feel like, I don't like to, I still like to keep it, kind of wholesome, So,
yeah, why not?
Well, what I'm gathering is if you want career advice and getting into acting, don't ask Steve.
Yes, don't ask. I'll be like,
Talk to Kathy.
It's easy. Just show up.
We talked to Kathy about acting. We talked to Steve about a little
fighting.
karate.
I can show you how to do choreographed fight scenes. Now that I knew how to do. That was one thing that came very easily to me, so doing stage fighting and all that kind of stuff.
Now, will you teach me a move? Teach me a move.
Oh, my God.
Now, be gentle.
So think about like this. Like if I maybe was going to try to attack you, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes stepping back is not always the best way, because when you step back, you don't know what's behind you. And once you start that momentum, you can't stop going that way. And I can keep coming forward and you're backing yourself up with not really knowing what's behind you. Sometimes it's better to stand your ground. So from there, maybe one step back just for base, right? So if I'm coming in, right, from here, maybe you want to reach your hands up. So if I come in, you bring your hands in between and block. Yeah, exactly. And from there, you have lots of options you can do from there. So if I'm coming in, try to attack, good. Now from here, you can have control a few different ways. One way could be you could just move inward, and then from there, like pull my head down for the
I
strike.
don't want to hurt
Yes,
you.
please don't.
I'm a gentle soul, really.
But, so sometimes kind of facing it head on and then, diverting
up.
it. Or if someone comes in, sometimes the best thing to do is just sidestep out of the way. So if someone's coming in, just a giant step back and rotate your right shoulder back that way.
Okay.
Nope, the other way. This way. Yeah, there we go.
I'd be great at
All
karate.
right. So it'd be
I
like
like the
this.
one that-
You
the
would
first
step
one.
this way like this and let them pass.
Oh, I see, so like.
Yes,
this
right,
way.
exactly.
Oh,
You
I
just
get it.
step out of
Okay.
the way.
So this
as I
is
come
move
in,
two.
yes, as
Okay.
I come in, you just right step out of the way. Woo! There we go. Yeah, good.
Ole!
Huh? And then you just elbow in the face like 50 times. Yeah. Good job.
Thank you.
I was not expecting self-defense lessons, and
Neither was I.
Never know.
Yeah,
that's what's great about these
See?
panels.
Absolutely.
I do want to touch on something that Kathy mentioned, talking about Zoom and how familiar with it we've grown over the past year or so. How have you, during the lockdown, were you able to work? Were there projects put on hold? How did you deal with it?
Well, I couldn't work in LA. We seem to be very kind of lockdownish in Los Angeles and
Same in
California. So I went to Cleveland and taped a new pilot for a show called TV Dinners, where we take, any of you have those little aluminum trays with the meatloaf and mashed potatoes and peas? So that's really the basis of the show, TV Dinners and Made Healthy. And we have classic stars that come in, like Jerry Mathers and Tony Dow were some of our first guests. And
Nice.
so we made the pilot in Cleveland, and then I went to Houston and Texas, close there. And there again, they're a little looser with their COVID restrictions.
Yeah.
And so I shot a movie there, and I wrote half of a book, and I just finished the other half. So that is coming out, and actually at my table, if you want to sign up for my newsletter, this sounds like an advertisement, no, but if you sign up for my newsletter, we're having a drawing for a free book when my book comes out in a month, and that is the Family Affair Scrapbook, which is really fun, pictorial, lots of things. This is actually my 7th book. So during COVID, I learned to cook more, and my garden is looking nice. I became very chatty because I live with my husband of 40 years, so I know him very well. And my 30-year-old son never really left home. He's never left the nest. What he did is invite his girlfriend to live with us 6 years ago. So there are more birds in the nest, and they don't seem like they're flying the coop very, very soon. So I had that whole little family that was nice, but at the same time, I wanted to talk to people. So I would go out to get the mail and say, I would see the postman. Hi, Kevin, how are you today? Well, isn't it a beautiful day today? Look at the grass. Don't you think the grass is growing? Well, there's a new flower. Did you see that new flower on my book? So I said, yes, Kathy, that's very, I've got to go now. I said, okay. So Kevin was my sounding board, but I do love Zoom, and it was great not to be on the LA freeways, which are absolutely awful.
I know. I
And-
lived there 25 years. I know what you're talking about.
And I lived there all this. I was born in LA.
Yeah.
And I'm actually a very good driver, but my husband doesn't think so, but
I love all the tangents that she goes off on.
I know.
It's a story for another time.
I know. You should live in my mind. This is why I don't take drugs.
Dangerous place. I'll be like,
Telling you. I'd be
Jesus.
totally over the edge. I took
good
drugs.
Lord.
No, he's very sweet. He brings me, at 5 p.m. Every night, he brings me a chill glass of Chardonnay, which is great. And that's my drug. But I did have one more thing to say about Zooming. But I thought it was a very good thing to do. And many casting directors, I do like all kinds of interviews and meetings on the Zoom, and I'm becoming much more technologically aware. But I got to get rid of my white sheet. It's,
Yeah.
you're not looking too hot.
The green screen thing, yeah.
How did you do?
I did not fare well. I didn't like it. I didn't like being locked down because I like coming out to these events, I miss the fans, I miss the interaction and the stuff. The Zoom thing just wasn't the same to me. I didn't like it. So, I kind of fell into the bad habits of like hanging out, watching a lot of Netflix, not because there was no martial arts schools that were open that I could train with or teach at, and there was no cons happening. So I found myself in this weird place, like, there's nothing to do, and I didn't find ways to occupy my time the right way. So it was cool doing some of these Zoom events and whatnot, but to me, it just didn't feel the same. I like to, be up close and chat and tell the stories and stuff and get to see everybody's face to face and hear your guys' stories about how Power Rangers was for you and stuff. To me, that's what, motivates me. And so when I didn't have that, it was rough, and then I was like, well, I was living in the States at the time, but then moved to London right in the middle of COVID, and it seemed like they were about to start opening back up, but then they shut back down again. So I actually sat longer indoors and less interaction than than most people did. So they only just now started opening England back up. So I'm heading back on Monday. And,
See, you chat too.
Yeah,
you chat
do,
also. You chat.
Yeah, but all I say is, I'm very happy to be back doing this. You know what I mean? Being back and face to face with everybody here and answering the questions in real person, in real life. There's nothing quite like that human contact.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I agree.
So that's it.
Speaking of which,
That's all I have to say about that.
we do have a microphone. That is awesome that you're back. It's being free. This is a wonderful thing. It looks like we may have a couple questions.
Okay. Who's holding up that little timer thing?
Hi, it's me again, Jerry.
Hey, Jerry.
Anyway, I just wanted to say, my question is, if you guys had the opportunity back in the 80s or 90s to be a protagonist or main character in any other kid show, which one would you choose? Cartoon or live action?
Interesting.
That's a really good question. I would like to do both. I like on camera and I like the animation. So I would have liked to have been Wonder Woman. Linda Carter, yeah. I've met her a couple of times. She's the sweetest, nicest person ever. I would like to have her figure, but she's younger than I am. So I would, because I am strong. I mean, just as a person, I am strong, and I could do that on camera. Actually, the associate producer from Family Affair said, you would really be good as Wonder Woman. But that's just because I could always beat him at basketball and ping pong and Indian wrestlings and things like that. So I would like to have been Wonder Woman on camera. And animated, I like somebody else. Firestar is just so much my favorite that I guess I would just take her friend Storm. And so I like
X-Men.
Storm.
X-Men. Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
I have a couple different ones. Well, first of all, my favorite, and I'm gonna lose half the audience here, but my favorite character is Superman. Like I am,
Superman.
And it's not even necessarily that I'm a DC or a Marvel guy. I'm not. I like both of them. But my favorite character, as superhero-wise, is Superman. When I was a young kid, I even used to dress up like Superman. I had these blue sweatsuit, like a sweater, and sweatpants, and I would put the red underoos over the sweatpants so they'd be on the outside, and I would safety pin a terry cloth red towel to my back, and I'd put a bunch of Vaseline in my hair to get the curl going, and we had this shed in the back of our house, and it had an old dirty mattress out there, and I used to climb up on top of the shed and jump off onto the mattress to think I was Superman, and I wore that thing everywhere. My mom would be, I'm going to the grocery store, let me get my Superman outfit on. Very sorry, Mom, I'm doing it.
And he lived to tell about it.
Yeah, right, yeah. So Superman has always been my favorite, so it would be cool to be part of like the Super Friends. That would be awesome. I would also like to be a character in G.I. Joe. That'd be great. And then the other thing I wish I could have been is I could have been Fresh Prince's friend. You know what I mean? I would have loved to have been in a town called Bel Air. That would have been a lot of fun. So I don't know. Good
Thanks.
question though.
Thank you.
Yeah.
11 minutes.
This is a little tall for me.
You
tilt it down.
You can tilt it down.
Okay, then.
There you go.
My name is Allie. I live nearby. I took the bus. I don't drive, whatever.
Amazing.
My
Thank
little
you for
brother,
coming.
he's going to be turning 14 next month. I really wish I had a question for you, Kathy, but this is mostly for... What's your name again?
Yeah, it's for Steve, yeah?
Steve. My little brother has watched every single season of Power Rangers, binged on Netflix.
That's
so he's
dedication.
mad that if he knew he was here, he would be mad that I'm like, Allie gets to go. He was jealous already, but he was like, no fair.
Oh, bummer.
What do you think of the character Strong Bad from Homestar Runner? What have you heard of? Have you heard of the character?
Which
Strong Bad from Homestar Runner.
I don't know that character.
What?
Anybody else know who we're talking about here?
Homestar Runner, anybody? Okay,
Homestar
so
Runner,
you got a
okay,
couple
yeah.
people.
Is
He's like
he a bad guy? Is he a
he's
good guy?
impossible a bad guy. But he's like, it's a Flash cartoon that what was it? Who created it again?
I don't.
But he has the mask. That's what.
I'll have to look it up.
Yeah.
But then I will look it up, and if you're gonna be here,
I'm gonna be here Saturday,
You
too.
can ask me Saturday. I'll look
Okay.
it up, and you can ask me about it
Okay,
Saturday.
thank you.
Okay. Thank you, hon.
Anybody else?
Okay. Is that King Kong or Godzilla on your shirt?
This one's Godzilla.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Godzilla.
So I actually have one for Kathy and two for Steve.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, by the way, I grew up in that period where I got to watch both shows as they were coming out. So, for Kathy, when they had you do the voice acting for Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, did they have you in separate booths, or did they have you in kind of like a round table kind of deal?
Both. So we would get the scripts and we would all sit down together and we would see it. And we also saw the animation for it, which is, which helped.
That's helpful.
Yeah, it's very helpful. And then when we actually went to record it, whomever was in that particular scene, we would do it together. There'd be two of us in the booth. If there were three of us in the booth, then we would all three be in the booth. But they only had like three microphones. So some of the guest characters, would just come and record their part by themselves in the booth.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
That's how we did it. We were always individual. When we had our own set time that we would do everything when that came to the voiceover stuff.
Especially the funds.
Never like all of us together in the booth at the
The
same
grunts,
time.
the hi-yas, and everything else.
Yeah.
Now, the Alien Rangers season, they had the younger versions of the
Yep.
cast. Did you ever get a chance to actually work with that younger version?
Yeah.
of
Oh,
you?
yeah. We worked with them briefly. I think we did at least one episode with them where they made the transition. But the thing at that point, what was happening, the reason they did that whole episode was they want to be able to sell those Alien Ranger toys, so they had to create a storyline. And the thing is that we had, like when I told you guys how we first got on the show, they were like, we need to start filming right away. We got to get as many episodes in the can. We were working 12-hour days, sometimes 7 days a week for a month and a half. And then we went and did the movie in Australia, and we filmed the movie in Australia for 2 months. And halfway through the movie, they said, we don't like the direction of the movie. We're scrapping the whole movie and we're starting over. So we had to stay there another 2 months. So what should have only taken about 6 weeks took almost 4 months to do that movie. And so that was cutting into the scheduling time for doing more episodes for the show. So we were simultaneously doing TV show and a movie episodes in Australia.
Yeah, 'cause I remember them having a couple
And then we came back and immediately got started into season 3. I'm finishing up season 3. And so we went for almost 2 years straight working, every single day. There was no hiatus of any kind for us. So they needed to finally give us a break. So they did the storyline where they turned us into little kids. So they had the little kids do their adventure while we took a nice, longly needed 2-month break or something. So
Of course, after that, you had the transition to the following series, being Zeo. Outside of the sets and the costumes, was there a noticeable difference in how everything worked?
No, everything, the way that the story was shot, the storylines, all that kind of stuff, that was all the same. Just, we just wore different costumes. So that wasn't much different for us. The only thing I did like about Zeo is that by that time, my character, I've had a little bit more acting experience, so, I felt a little bit more, okay with stepping out of my comfort zone, and I was a little bit more into the character at this point. And so they started giving my character more to do. So Zia was actually kind of like my favorite season to work on because I was a little more comfortable in my own skin with the whole acting thing, because before I was not. And back then, watching yourself on TV was very weird. Just like hearing your own voice in a recording. It's like, I really sound like that? Or when you look at yourself, I really look like that? Because back then, people didn't just readily have cameras all the time on them, so, unless you walked around with a camcorder all the time, constantly, you didn't see yourself on film that much. And so to see yourself on TV and look, it was very weird, and I was not very comfortable with that. Took some getting used to.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we are almost out of time.
We're so long-winded, we took up so much time, sorry.
Hey, we love it. Would you like to promote anything before we go? Anything coming up, Kathy, that...
I'm signing at my booth after this. Y'all can come see me.
Yes,
What's up
definitely
there. You got
see
more
them at their
questions?
booth
Yeah.
after this.
I'm sitting right next to this lovely lady,
Yeah.
so we'll have a big party. Come on, or as they say, we'll have a big patty. Come on down.
Yeah. I'm doing Mid-Atlantic Comic-Con in 2 weeks, and then I'm doing the Cowboy Ways nowadays. I'm a Western person. I have 5 books out that I'd love for you to go to my website. It's kathygarver.com, so creative, KathyGarver.com, and like me on my Facebook fan page. And you can follow along with where I'm making appearances. And the books are the Family Affair Cookbook. Then I wrote my memoir. That was in 2015 in hardback, and they're bringing it out in paperback because it was such a success. I have those over at my table, of course. And Ex-Child Stars, Where Are They Now? I know a lot about those. Then holiday recipes for a family affair. Yeah, I cook. And then
How am I supposed to follow that? So,
You can follow me at Instagram, Steve Cardenas PR, thanks.
and I'm on Instagram at KG my other TV Dinners TV cookbook will also be out to go with the
Amazing.
new show, TV Dinners. And then my other book, I mentioned, was a family affair, a scrapbook. And then I executive produced a new show that will be on Retro TV, debuting September 12th, called Idol Chat, IDOL Chat, where we bring reunions of shows together. So we have the Happy Days, and then Jerry and Mathers and Tony
Right,
Dow.
the Leave
and-
It to
and
Beaver
those-
guys,
Yeah,
yeah.
the Leave It to Beaver guys. So there's episodes.
Nice.
Blah, 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 blah.
this is
Yeah.
a Renaissance woman right here, guys. She does everything.
She does a lot, and follow her at KathyGarver.com. Operators are standing by.
That is
And definitely
amazing.
go to their booths. Let's give a big round of applause for these 2 wonderful actors.
Thank you. Thank you.
Especially this one right here. Amazing. Amazing.
This is John Glover, and you are watching Fandom Spotlight. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Lionel Luther recommends it. Have some fun. Follow your fandom.